All right, guys. So today we're going to be adding on to our knowledge of parabolas. So today we're going to want to be able to graph parabolas and state the vertex, focus, directrix, and axis of symmetry. So the new part on this is this focus and directrix. We haven't talked about that at all before, but it's just a different way of looking at a parabola that makes it seem a little bit easier to graph. The focus is going to be a point inside the parabola that's p units from the vertex. We've also never used this value of p, so that doesn't make sense to you yet, but it will in a minute. The directrix is going to be a line that's perpendicular to the axis of symmetry, and it's going to be p units from the vertex as well. Again, you don't know what that is, but once I show you what p is, you'll see. Here's the definition of a parabola. A parabola is actually the set of all points in a plane that are equidistant from the focus and the directrix. All right, so what's that mean? Well, this is the definition of a parabola, but we haven't really defined a parabola yet. So right here's our vertex. This distance from here to here and from here to here, those are the same. They're p units away. But if I take any other random point and I measure this distance and I measure that distance, they're going to be the same. So any point on this parabola is the same distance from the focus as it is from the directrix. That's how a parabola is actually formed. And parabolas are used all the time, like in satellite dishes, they're usually a perfect parabola. There's bridges. If you look at bridges, sometimes they're a perfect parabola. Okay, now on to what is this p-value? If I have an equation that's in the form 1 over something, this something in the denominator is known as 4p. Okay, so this only works if I have an equation in this form, y equals 1 over something. That is going to be 4p right there. And that p-value tells us this distance and everything else. So it allows us to find this focus and the equation of this directrix. Notice if I have a parabola that opens up, it's going to be y equals 1 over 4px squared, or if it opens down. The only difference is that it's negative when it opens down. All right, the new part to this. This is going to be if I have an x equals some number y squared. If I have x equals something y squared, now the parabola is going to open to the right if this number is positive, or to the left if this number is negative. Same kind of thing. The focus is going to be p units from that vertex. All right, let's try a problem to make it easier to understand. We've done this kind of thing before. This is a parabola. F of x means y. Which way is this parabola going to open? Up. If it's just y equals x squared, it's going to open up. So it's going to open up. The vertex. What's the vertex? Do we have any shifting at all? Did it shift left, down, left, right, up, or down? Nope. So the vertex is going to be at 0, 0. All right, here's the new part. 1 over 8. When I have this 1 over 8, this can be thought of as what we used to call A. So it would mean I would go out 1 unit and up 1/8 of a unit. Isn't it pretty hard to do? Go out 1 unit and go up 1/8 of a unit? That's hard to do. So instead, we're going to use this P concept. So whatever's in this denominator, that's going to be 4P. So I'm going to say 4P equals 8. So what is P going to equal then? 2. Now, looking back here, do you see how this focus is always inside the parabola? The focus is always inside the parabola. So if this is going to open up, then where's the focus going to go? Up, down, left, or right? Up. So I have to go up 2 units. So the focus here, we'll call that F, is going to be 0, 2. Here's the other really cool thing. Whatever this number is in the denominator, that 4p value, that's going to equal the width through the focus. That's going to tell us the width through the focus. So once again, here's the vertex, here's the focus. So the width of this through the focus has to be a total of 8. Yeah. The formula, it's always 1 over 4p. Okay. So what I was saying is that whatever this number is down here, that's just going to be the width through the focus. So we have to have a total width of 8 through this focus. So what that means, if it has to be a total of 8, I'm going to go to the right 4 and to the left 4. And here's my vertex. That's a point. And that's a point. So what that allows me to do is graph this without having to go out 1 and up 1/8, which is really hard to see. Okay. So that's how I can graph this. The directrix. That's always going to be a line that's p units outside of the vertex. So if I went up 2 for the focus, I have to go down 2 for the directrix. And it's going to be this line right here. The focus is inside the parabola. The directrix is outside of the parabola. Never touches it. What's the equation of that line? Y equals -2. That's going to be the directrix equation. And then the axis of symmetry equation, that's the line that comes down like this, splits the parabola in half. What's the equation of that? X equals 0. All right. You could check this out on Desmos. Let me just show you on Desmos. If I were graphing this to check it, I could check it on the graphing calculator too, but just want you to see this. See how that focus right here we went up to? Remember how I said we go out a total of 8? This width here through the focus should be a total of 8. So remember how I said go out 4 and out 4? See how it makes it a perfect parabola when we think of it that way. Okay. All right. Let's go back to our notes. All right, a little bit tougher. X equals -1/12 y squared. If I have an x equals y squared parabola, it opens right when this number's positive, and it opens left when that number's negative. So which way is this going to open? Left. What is the vertex? Do we have any shifting? No. So the vertex is going to be 0, 0. Now we have to find that p-value. I check. This is 1 over 12. The denominator, if I have a 1 in the numerator, I set that equal to 4p. So what's p going to be in this case? 3. I said this parabola opens to the left. So am I going to go up 3, down 3, right 3, left 3? Left 3. It has to be inside the parabola. So I go to the left 3. What is the value right there? What's that coordinate? -3, 0 is our focus. I could go out 1 and up a 12. That's really difficult to do though. The other way of thinking of it is, this is my vertex, this is my focus. So how far out am I going to go in each direction? 6. These are also called focal chord endpoints. We're not going to make you tell those coordinates this year yet, but you should understand how to find it because it makes your graph look much better. If I wanted to check that, I could check it out on Desmos. X equals negative 112 y squared. See that? We said that focus was at negative 3, 0, and don't we go up 6 and down 6 and it makes it perfect? It's really pretty cool. All right, so we have the focus. The directrix has to be p units outside of the parabola, so it's got to go like this. Do you know the equation of that directrix? X equals 3. The axis of symmetry is going to have to be this line that cuts the parabola down the middle like that. What's the equation going to be? Y equals 0. Okay? So we're just adding on a little bit more to our knowledge of parabolas by throwing in this focus and directrix. All right, go to the next part. These equations are if we have shifts. I don't like these formulas for focus and directrix. I would not use those, but this is pretty important right here. If we have a shift of h, that's going to change our vertex, isn't it? Because that's going to shift us to the right, and this would shift us up. If we open to the right or to the left, look at this. This is going to be y minus k. So this is going to tell me how far, in this case, if it's y minus k, that's a shift up k. And this is actually going to go to the right h. So you will want to refer back to this when you do your homework. Okay, to that right there so you understand it. But let's look at a more standard example first. Y equals 1/4 x plus 1 squared minus 3. First of all, up, down, left, or right? Up. What about the vertex? We already know this, guys. This is a shift to the what? Left 1. That's a shift what? There's our vertex. Put it in there. Now we have to find that p-value because we have a 1 in the numerator. If we have a 1 in the numerator, we set that denominator equal to 4p. So what's the p-value going to be? 1. All right, so we have the p-value is 1. So where am I going to go to find the focus? Up, down, left, or right? Up, 1. There's the focus. Here's the vertex. Here's the focus. So our focus is up 1. All right, now we should graph it. How wide is it going to be through the focus? Total of 4. So I'm going to go 2 right, and I'm going to go 2 left. And that gives me my nice graph without really having to do much work at all. Remember how we used to have to make the tables and do all that? Now we're getting faster. All right, directrix. You guys find the equation of the directrix now. It's this line. Do you know it? Here's the directrix. It had to be p units outside of the parabola. Who's got it? What is it? Okay, except the directrix is a line, not a point. Y equals negative 4. Yeah, that gets confusing, but the focus is a point and the directrix is a line. And then the last thing we need, guys, is this axis of symmetry. Do you know what this is going to be? Good job. All right. Now we're going to try and see if we can go the other direction. They're going to give us information about the parabola, and we have to come up with the equation of the parabola. So I'm going to make a picture of this, just a real quick sketch. Doesn't need to be perfect. Focus is negative 2, 0. Here's the focus. Directrix is the line x equals 2. What kind of line is that? Horizontal or vertical? It's a vertical line right here. There's my directrix. Do you know which way this parabola is going to open? Up, down, left, or right? It's going to have to be left, isn't it? Because it has to wrap around that focus. So it's going to have to open left. When it opens left, is it x equals y squared or y equals x squared? So it has to be x equals 1 over 4p y squared. Why didn't I use all of this stuff? Why didn't I have to use this h and k? Because I could see what? That the vertex is at 0, 0. So that's why I didn't have to use this. On your homework, you're going to have to use this though. Okay? But for now, we're doing an easier problem. All right, here's our vertex. How far is it from the vertex to the focus? How far apart are those? So that's our p-value. P is 2. Can you think of the equation then if p is 2? Anybody know? No, all we have to do is fill in right here. What is it? Plug in the 2, okay? So 4 times 2 is 8. So is it just 1 over 8 y squared? Let's check that. I'm going to go to Desmos and check it. X equals 1 over 8 y squared. Oh, So that's not what I wanted though, because that focus has to be over here. That's not where our focus is. So what do we do wrong? What do we need? A negative, because it's opening to the left. It's opening in the negative direction. So we have to have a negative in front of there. And if you want to see that, check it out. If I just put a negative in front of there, boom, now it's right. Okay? You guys got that? All right, let's check out this one. We have a vertex of 0, 0, and we have a focus at 0, 4/5. Probably don't love that fraction in there, but it's okay. We can handle it. Here's the vertex. Here's the focus. Which way are we opening? Up, down, left, or right? Up. So this is going to have to be y equals 1 over 4p x squared. That's what we're going to have to use. Well, what in the world is our p-value? It's the distance from the vertex to the focus. What's that p-value? 4/5. Not fun, but this is honors. So we're going to handle these fractions and not be afraid of them. So we're going to have y equals 1 over 4, and I have to plug in a p-value of 4/5. Do you guys know what 4 times 4/5 is? Just multiply straight across. What do you get? 16/5 is right. So it's y equals 1 over 16/5 x squared. I would actually accept this because it is correct. But if you did something like this on the ACTs, they wouldn't write it like that. Let me show you what answer they would give you. Y equals 5 over 16x squared is what they would put for the answer. Can you think of why this is equivalent to that? How is it that this is the same as that? What are we doing here? What's this bar mean? Do you know what 1 divided by 16/5 is? Don't we copy, change it to multiplication and flip this? That makes sense now, why we would put that answer? Okay, I'd like you to push yourself to do things like that. Here's another way I like to do it. I like to say, I don't want that 5, so I'm going to multiply the bottom by 5 and the top by 5. 5 divided by 5 cancels, and now I have 5 over 16. That's another way to do it. I actually prefer that way, but whatever you prefer. All right, guys. We're going to do 2 more problems, 3 and 5. Check out number 3. We got to find it all. Y equals negative 112 x minus 2 squared plus 1. First of all, make a decision. Which way is it opening? Up, down, left, right? Down is correct. The first thing you want to find is that vertex. Think of any shifts we have done here. That's not a shift, but these two are. This is with the x, and it's inside the parentheses, so it's going to shift us which way? Right 2. So that puts our vertex at 2. This is on the outside, so it's really with the y. And it's not a parenthesis, so it does what we think it's going to do. It's going to take us where? Up 1. Our vertex then is at 2, 1. Put it in there. What do we need to find now? The p-value, right? So I say 4p equals what? 12. So what is p going to be then? 3. Okay, so from my vertex, to find the focus, am I going to go up, down, right, left? Down 3. What's the focus going to be then? 2, negative 2, nice. Now here was my vertex, here is my focus. I want to make a good graph. So I know it's got to be 12 units wide through that focus. Here's my focus. I have to go 12 units total. So I'm going to go right 6 and left 6. This is going to make me a really nice graph. I don't even have to plug in points or do anything. All right, looks good. We need the equation of the directrix. Remember, the focus is a point, but the directrix is a line. Can you figure out the equation for that directrix? X equals 4. X equals 4. Do you guys agree? Uh-oh, some people are saying no. Right. Do you guys like that one? Y equals 4? Okay, now you're getting all nods. Okay, y equals 4. I agree too. All right, and then the last thing is that axis of symmetry that comes down through, cuts that parabola in half, makes it symmetric. Anybody new got that one? X equals 2, you agree? Don't both of these points have x and being 2 in common? I always look at it that way. I say, what do they have in common? X's or 2? Oh, that's what my axis of symmetry is then. Okay. All right, guys, we're not going to do this whole thing, but you do have one like this on your test. So or not test, your homework. I just want to show you how you get this in the right form. I'm going to flip this around. Do you see I kept it exactly the same? I just rewrote it with this on the left and this on the right. That's because I have to have y equals 1 over 4px squared. What would I have to do now? Divide by negative 2. So y would equal negative 1/2 x squared. Can anybody think of which way this is going to open, first of all? Down. Do you know what the p-value would be? If 4p has to be 2, 4p has to be 2. I've heard some people say it. I want more people to say it. 1/2. P would have to be 1/2. And then you could go from there, but we're not doing the whole thing there. But you would get some fractions on these points you're going to come up with. All right, I wanted to come down here and take a look at number 5. All right, we have a fraction here. It's okay. We're not going to panic. Where's our vertex? At the what? It's at the origin. At the origin. Is this going to be, what's the equation we're going to use? Is it going to be y equals or x equals? So it's going to be x equals 1 over 4p y squared. The vertex is at 0, 0, so I don't have to worry about using this. If the vertex wasn't at 0, 0, I'd have to use that. All right. So what is p going to be? Well, it's the distance from between these two. What's the p value then? No, not 0. How far apart are they? Okay, we don't care about the negative really. We just use 7/12. You don't have to worry about that. So what am I going to do to figure out what goes in this denominator then? I have to take this and multiply it by 4. Okay. So I'm going to get 28/12 that I have to put in lowest terms. I've shown you guys this yet. Watch this. If I want to put that in lowest terms, I can do 28 divided by 12, get that answer, and hit math. Math is right here. Math frac. You'll hear me say that a lot. Math fracket. 7/3 is what this is. 7/3. Doesn't it make sense too? I could have just said, oh, divide that by 4 and divide that by 4 and get 7/3. Yeah, a lot of math there. All right, so my equation then is x equals 1 over 7/3 y squared. Is that the way the fabulous ACT is going to put it though? What would they put? Yeah, and those are exactly the same. Okay? All right, lots of stuff there today. I know it's a lot. You've got to practice this homework. Don't get behind. Make sure you do the worksheet. I posted the answers. Check and make sure you understand. If there's a question you don't understand, don't just copy it from the worksheet. Try to think it through and be like, oh, now I see how she did that. All right? Stop right there.